Okay, so we're going to do the eyes. Let's take a look. Boop. Just going to hide these glasses. And what I want to do is I'm going to control the eyes by joints. Okay, let's grab these two eyeballs. And if I go into skeleton, create joint, I'm just going to look, and I want the center of the eye. So I've kind of got a nice center line in here. I'm going to hold down V, and I'll click, and it'll create it right on the side. I'm just going to grab the move tool, and I'm going to hold down V, and I'm going to snap it so it's in the center here. Okay, and that is I underscore left underscore J and T. And why is it telling me I have another one in here someplace? I do not have another one in here. Okay, whatever. We'll look for that afterwards. There was something I was doing in a previous video attempt on this, so maybe it's caught up with me. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to take that eye joint and I'm going to parent it here. P. I'm just going to double check if I open this up. The previous one, nope, nothing there. Okay, well, I'm going to take that eye joint now, and I'm just going to quickly go and do skeleton, and I'm going to, when I mirror it, I want it to have the same orientation, so I'm just going to change from behavior to orientation. Look there. So that if I head on the scale tool, you'll see that they have the same orientation. Otherwise, the Y flips and one will go upside down. And then I have to compensate for that. Okay, so we got that happening. Next thing I want to do, let's go to the side view. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to create a locator. I want to create a locator. Actually, let's just create a funny object. So if I just go in here to create curve tools, CV curve tool, I can kind of come in here and create some kind of little thing in front of the eye. How about all right, so nice fish. And I'm just going to go and hit center pivot. And the pivot point, we want the pivot point to line up with this joint over here. So I'm just going to hold down V, grab it in the Y axis, so it's right there. Okay, cool. Pull it back this way. And I'm just going to go and freeze the transformations on this thing, and I'll call this thing I interest underscore control. I interest control. Okay. And what else here? I just got to go in and grab that joint, grab this piece of geometry, skin, bind skin. So you can see this all in action. Selected joints. There, and skin, bind skin. And if you have, like for your eyes, if you have like an outer shell, like sometimes what you'll have is you'll have the clear eye on the outside that's going to have the high gloss on it and stuff like that, high reflectivity, and then you have this inner section here where the iris caves in and stuff like that. So typically on my eyeballs I make about 4 of these, 4 pieces of mesh, so I can easily bind them all to this one joint. That's kind of why I'm using joints. Anyway, what I want is I want the joint here to stare at this object here. So if I select this eye interest and I select the joint and I go into constrain, we've got something called an aim constraint. Okay, and the aim vector is set to Y. These columns are X, Y, and Z. Okay, so the aim vector is set to Y, so that's bad. So let's make that 0. We're going to make the aim vector into Z, right? Z is going to be this one over here. If I look in this little axis, I can see a little blue line is heading out of the center of the joint. Okay, so that's going to be that. The up vector can have them both Z, so I'm going to make this 0. And I'll make the up vector Y. Okay, and let's just see what happens. I hit apply. Whoop, there we go. It worked. Now, when I take this fish and I move it around, the eye follows it. Okay, now I froze it out so I can easily find that spot again where I created this whole, or this setup in control. Just gonna grab this fish, grab the eye interest object, grab the joint, and I'll hit it again. Boop. And so now, when I take this and I move it around, the eyes follow it. Okay, this is cool. Okay, this is a nice way to set up the eyes for, making them move around, and you can follow them. And also when you do things like you bring it in, they kind of go cross-eyed and then they go out. Okay, so you've got a few different options with it. That's great. But if you want the character's eye focus to, constantly look like they're right in front of their head, that's great. Sometimes you want them to look off in the distance, right? And then you have to zoom out, move this far away, and then, it's just constant zooming in and zooming out. So let's put this thing back at its 0 point. Boop, there. Okay. And then let's go into the top view. Not top view, front view, sorry. So, like I said, that's one controller. There's another controller where people have it so it just controls the eyes and they look off in the distance and they look like they're dead. Okay, I'm going to get the CV curve tool out again. And let's go right up here and I'll hold down X. There, 1, 2, 3. I put in 3 points there to get this kind of shape. Okay. And then I'll do something like this, and I'll see what happens if I just kind of do something like this. Okay, well, it's not perfect, but whatever. I could make it better if I wanted to. But that looks like an eyeball to me. I'm just going to go and hit center pivot. Okay. Perspective. Great. So now I got this little eyeball thing sitting on top. And what I'm going to do is this thing here, I want it so when I rotate it, the eyes will follow, they'll rotate around the head. If I take this eye interest, I'm just going to copy this information, and I group it. Boop. I'm going to group it, and I'm going to take that group. Well, it's like Control G. Uh-oh, did I hit Control D by accident? No, I did not. Okay, good. It's just that thing there. This is just I _ control. Okay. Take this, Control G, groups it, and I want to take that group and just isolate the stuff. The group selected, I'm just going to hold down D and V, put it there. I'm just going to center it, so I'll hit D and V and I'll center it to that joint right there. And there's my group. Okay, and that group is going to be eye interest control _ group. Okay, so what the hell have I just done? I have taken this object, I put a group on it. So this object is controlling where the eyes are looking at, and this group can rotate this thing around. Okay, so it's rotating the object around. So now the pivot point that I'm worried about for rotating the eyes is actually in this between the eyes. If I were to take this controller here, okay, so the eye control, actually I want to select eye control first and then select the eye interest control group. You can check the order up in here. That's the last object selected under object, okay, in case you're confused. And if I go up to constrain and I go to orient, and they probably should have the same orientation, so I can leave maintain offset off, I'll hit add. And now, when I grab this and I rotate it, it rotates the object around. So now the controller that I'm looking at is just above the head. I can move that down a bit lower if I wanted to. Okay, and I don't even need this almost. I do need Actually, I forgot to freeze the transformations on that. Get rid of that. Okay, great. Again, I can, if I wanted to, I can move this down so it's even closer, freeze up the transformations. Now, one thing we don't have access to is this, right? So play with the focus of the eyes, so they're looking close or distant. So if I were to look at this and I'm going across the z-axis here, or I'm going down the z-axis. If I were to take this control and I go in and edit, let's add an attribute, let's call it focus. Okay, I'm just going to leave it the default 0, hit OK. And I'm going to go in, I can make a set-driven key out of this if I wanted to, but I think this one here is simple enough. It's just like one axis that if I go into general editors and I find the connection editor, okay, eye control, focus is going into the eye interest control, load this side, and I find translate Z, they are connected. And now when I grab this and I use focus, okay, so all the controls are on one object again. I can take this thing, I don't even need it, I can just hide it. Okay, and that way it's not in front of the face. I always find when I'm doing facial animation, I kind of like looking at the face. I don't like, you know, looking at other parts of it while I'm doing these things and figuring it out. And also to like moving in and out to kind of control the eyes. So there, everything's here. Okay. So that's done. And that's the eye rig. And anything else on there I gotta say? No, I'm probably gonna have to hook that up a little bit afterwards. This thing here could probably follow this around. Actually, I'm just gonna parent it in. So now whenever I move this, that control is there. We've got another problem, that focus thing I did with the eye interest group. I hid this thing here. I'm just gonna bring it back so you can see it. This eye interest group needs to follow this control around. So if I take the eye interest group, I'll select the head joint first, and I'll hold down Shift, hold down Control when you're in here, and I go in and I do a constraint. I give it a parent constraint. Now, when I grab this thing and I move it, the whole unit follows it around. Okay, then I can hide this thing, and there, we're done the eyeball rig. And then I gotta do blend shapes.